As the calendars turned to 2018, a horrific event took place and a promising young woman was murdered. Just like every day, every month, and every year, another femicide was committed, and by someone she saw as her closest confidant. Isn't that always how it is? A father, an uncle, a brother-in-law, a husband. Thousands of people have lived alongside their killers without realizing it, just like countless others. It seems not a day goes by that we don't hear of a new atrocity. Anyway, without dragging it on, I'll get to the case. This case will show us, in the most terrible way, what a depraved man is capable of. Before I begin this story, don't forget to subscribe, press the notification bell, and like the video so that new content can continue to be released. Alina was born on March 15, 1993. In South Korea, those close to her said she was an intelligent and respectful child. She had a very good relationship with her family and loved them more than anything. However, after a while, her entire life would be turned upside down. In 2010, a tragic accident occurred, and she lost her father. But this couldn't extinguish her joy for life. She still had hopes for the future. Still, she was aware that her life would now be more difficult. She had to work harder, and her grades in school were excellent. Her dream was to continue her education abroad and secure a good profession. Her mother supported her decisions and was always by her side. Canada was a logical option for her. Her aunt had married and settled there, and it was an excellent place for education. For those who don't know, Canada is a continent-sized country known for its cultural and geographical diversity. One of its main sources of income is education, and the country is truly successful in terms of its universities. Returning to our topic, Alina enrolled in a university in Canada and began living with her aunt, Susan. Her aunt had a daughter who was 2 years younger than her, and they got along very well. Her aunt had divorced her husband and, after some time, had started a romance with a new man. This man was 28-year-old Marcus Thorne. This was in 2015. The aunt was 45, while the man was 25. Despite the significant age difference, they had fallen in love and decided to get married. The man was only 3 years older than Alina and worked as a computer specialist. To talk a bit about Marcus, he appeared from the outside as a quiet, calm, and harmless person. But beneath this harmless appearance lay a pervert. As soon as he moved into the house, he began secretly recording his own stepdaughter. He had placed a camera among the decorations in the bathroom, and through this, he secretly watched her while she showered. Of course, after a while, he began recording Alina as well. He watched them while they were dressing, showering, and using the toilet. He acted as if he were showing them affection, satisfying himself in this way. Some nights, he would enter the girls' room, watch them, and continue to pleasure himself. His wife was constantly going on business trips and spent most nights away. Therefore, she was unaware of what was happening in her own home. However, marrying a man the age of her daughter and niece and leaving them alone in the same house for days on end was truly irresponsible behavior. Marcus's obsession increasingly shifted towards Alina. He no longer cared much for his stepdaughter and was constantly focused on Alina. He tried to spend time with her by building a good friendship and constantly fantasized about being with her. Of course, this perversion would not end there. Marcus would go even further. The calendar showed June 26, 2018. At that time, the aunt was returning from a business trip, and Marcus had gone to pick her up. Afterwards, they came home together, but Alina was nowhere to be found. The aunt immediately asked Marcus where her niece was, but he said he had no idea. According to Marcus, she might have spent the night at a bar with her friends and then stayed with them. She had done such things before, so this seemed plausible to the aunt. However, the fact that her phone was off worried her. Aunt Susan tried to call and reach her niece all day, but her efforts were fruitless. Desperately, The aunt called Elena's family in South Korea to ask if they had any idea where she might have gone. Unfortunately, they had no idea either. After waiting for her niece to return until the next day with no results, the aunt went to the police and filed a missing person report. On the day Elena was noticed missing, a group of tourists had found a body and reported it to the police. The time was 10:30 a.m. There was a body floating in the water near a national park. The person who made the report said it was someone around 25 years old and about 165 centimeters tall. It was clear the body had been there for some time because decomposition had begun. As soon as the missing person report came in, the police requested an identification of the body. The identification confirmed the tragic news. The body belonged to Elena. Upon this, police notified the family in South Korea, and the family came to Canada to see their daughter. The state of the body only intensified the family's grief. Elena had been subjected to a brutal assault and had more than 30 stab wounds. She had defensive wounds on her arms, which showed that she had tried to fight off her killer. The police quickly launched an investigation. According to retrieved footage, on June 23rd, she had gone shopping and then had fun with her friends. Nothing seemed strange. She first went to a shopping mall and then went fishing. She was last seen on camera heading home at 4:30 p.m. According to Marcus, they had watched a movie and eaten dinner together that evening. When he woke up the next day, Elena was gone. Meanwhile, his stepdaughter had gone to stay at a friend's house. The police began to suspect Marcus and therefore asked him dozens of questions. Becoming agitated by this, Marcus refused to answer and said he wanted to speak with his lawyer. This made the police even more suspicious and drew all their attention to Marcus. An investigation was launched and Marcus's phone signal was examined. Unsurprisingly, on the day Elena disappeared, his phone signal was picked up from the location where her body was found. Cameras in places near the scene were then examined, and a car similar to Marcus's was seen. Marcus insistently denied that this footage was of him. However, as the police investigated further, they gathered more evidence. In one camera footage, Marcus was buying alcohol, then getting gasoline for his car. At this time, he was very close to the crime scene. When the police asked why he was lying, he claimed he had used substances, which was why his memory was very weak and he couldn't remember what he had done during the day. It was clear this was a huge lie. Therefore, his phone was confiscated and sent for analysis. Although at first glance, nothing suspicious was observed on the phone, everyone would be shocked when the deleted files were recovered. The video showed both his stepdaughter and Elena showering. Even more disgustingly, in some videos, Marcus was satisfying himself in the girl's room. Initially, there was no footage of how Marcus killed Elena, and he had not confessed. Despite this, he faced 27 different charges and was sentenced to 46 years in prison in 2019. If you think the story ends here, you are mistaken. In court, Marcus talked about his difficult childhood and how it had psychologically devastated him. However, according to the expert witness report, his psychological state was perfectly fine, and he was responsible for his actions. The events wouldn't end there either. As the calendar turned to 2021, a woman with Alzheimer's disease found a USB drive in her garden. Afterwards, when her grandchild plugged the drive into a computer, incredible footage emerged. Asterisk, this footage was from the day of the incident. According to the recorded footage, on June 23rd, Elena had come home around midnight, after which Marcus burst into her room. Seeing him, Elena was very surprised and frightened. Upon this, Marcus lunged at her and covered her mouth. He then threw her to the ground, taped her mouth shut, and tied her arms. Afterwards, he completely undressed the innocent woman, videoed her, and sexually assaulted her. He did this repeatedly. Later, his stepdaughter came home, but she didn't know what had happened. She left after staying for a few hours. According to the footage, Elena was crying and begging him to stop, but Marcus continued to sexually assault her. You already know what happened next. She was killed with nearly 40 stab wounds and thrown into a lake after this footage emerged. Marcus faced 9 new charges and 20 years were added to his sentence. If he lives, he will be eligible to apply for parole in 36.5 years. Throughout the trial, Elena's mother's tears did not stop, and she begged for her daughter's killer to receive the harshest possible sentence. Although the sentence given to the killer seems high, the possibility of parole drove the family mad. The fact that the man who did this to their daughter could one day get out is truly a terrible situation, if you ask me. The man is not the only guilty party in this incident. Of course, we couldn't have known he was a pervert, but Aunt Susan should have considered all possibilities and not constantly left 2 young women alone at home with her husband. After all, she had only recently met the man, and people are not always as we know them. We shouldn't make shallow and absurd decisions based only on the tip of the iceberg. We must always protect our family and ourselves. Another striking aspect of the case was the fact that the USB drive the man hid was found by an elderly woman and plugged into a computer by chance. If it weren't for that, the man would have received only a fraction of the punishment he deserved. Another issue is that no one noticed the man was a pervert. This means he played the role of a trustworthy person very well indeed. That's all for this case. This case really affected me. It's a truly tragic situation for a girl who had lost her father and sought refuge with her aunt to study. Only 2 experienced this. I leave the comments about the case entirely to you. If you want more videos like this, you can like the video and subscribe, and also share your opinion in the comments. Hope to see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.